Hey, what's up, vinyl community? Midge here, a guy in a hat who loves to talk about records. On this video, I will be covering the new releases that came out in July of this year, and it was a bumper month, and there was some fantastic stuff released in July. So I'm not going to beat about the bush like I normally do, because I have a tendency to waffle, and I've got 5 albums to show you, so I need to crack on. So without further ado, let's crack on. So the first album is probably my favourite album of July, and a bit of a long story to this. I think it was an international VC that showed this album earlier in the year, and I liked the cover and I liked the sound of it, and I thought, yeah, I'll check that out. I haven't seen really anybody else mention it. So I looked it up, but I think it was only available in the UK on an import, so it was really expensive for a single album. And also, this artist had released it in the old-fashioned way, so it didn't make it available for streaming or on Apple or on Spotify. So if you wanted to hear it, you had to sort of go out and buy it, and not many UK stockists had it, to be honest. So I forgot all about it, and I just let it pass. But then a couple of months later, I sort of stumbled on one of the tracks, and he must have started releasing them online, so you could listen to them. And I heard a song called "Situation," and it absolutely blew my mind. And I thought, I've got to check this out. So I rechecked on a site to see if the price had gone down, and it had. So I thought, bingo, I'll get it. So I got it, and it's great, and I absolutely love it, and it's probably my favourite album of July. And it's Johnny Blue Skies and the Dark Clouds, and it's Mutiny After Midnight. It's basically a side project of the country and western. Do they still say that? Country artist Sturgill Simpson. I'll be totally honest with you. I've heard of him. I've never checked out anything he's done. The only thing I remember about him particularly was when he had a couple of albums out a few years ago where he was sat on one of them lawnmower things. He's sort of like one of those outlaw country artists, and apparently every album he makes, he goes for a different turn. So yeah, I know nothing about him, but the minute I heard a song on here called "Situation," I just thought this is worth checking out. I love the cover as well. It's really 80s, and there's that disco ball on there, and it's got like a back cover that looks like it's come off a VHS cassette that you used to rent in a Blockbuster or something in the 80s. And I thought, yeah, that's looking good. That looks like me. And I checked it out, and it's absolutely brilliant. I absolutely love this album. I can't stop playing it. So basically, Johnny Blue Skies is the alter ego of Sturgill Simpson, and it's sort of like, this is a country funk album, stroke country disco album, and it just works so well. It's fantastic. It's got really funky band, lots of clip guitar, lots of wah-wah, lots of sort of disco beats, and it's got Sturgill Simpson's sort of country southern drawl, deep voice singing over the top of it, and it's just great. It's country disco. I mean, who would have thought you'd need a country disco album, but you do, and it's this one, and it's fantastic. It's got 9 songs on it. Some of them are stretched out, so there's quite a groove to a lot of them. It's just so funky. It's really cool, and the songs are really great. And it's quite a political album in a way, but don't let that put you off, because I know a lot of people don't like politics and music, but it is very political in terms of it's sort of like a statement on America today. So there's lots of lyrics referring to, you know who. There's a great lyric on here that says, spend all our time watching a bad cartoon in an ill-fitting suit, grabbing women by the poon. I mean, who could that be about? But yeah, and his statements about America's immigration system and ICE and George Floyd and things like that. But don't let that put you off, because you can enjoy this album without the political element. It's basically his sort of, there's a riot going on in a way. It's sort of like the statement that he put out when he put this album out. I'll read it to you now. He said, "This album is a protest against oppression and suppression. And the only tried and tested true antidote to that is pure, unfiltered, unapologetic, relentless disco hedonism." And I agree with that. And that's what it is. It's just the lyrics, it's not all political, but there's quite a lot of politics in there. But it doesn't matter. The groove of the songs is what matters. And basically what he's saying is the only way to make America great again is by love and fucking, basically. In fact, the first track is called "I Want to Make America Fuck Again." It's great. It's absolutely superb. There's a track called Stay on That G. Oh, sorry, Stay on That D until you hit that G. What could that be about? Again, disco hedonism. And like I say, Situation is an awesome track, one of my favourite tracks of the year. I'm going to give you a sample of that at the end. But I'm absolutely loving this. All the band have got sort of pseudonym names. You've got Johnny Blue Skies, you've got Little Joe on rhythm guitar, you've got Black Daddy on bass, Easy Loving on drums, and Raw B on keys. But the band together just sound amazing. It's just great, sort of unapologetic, sort of full on funky disco hedonism, like he says. It's absolutely superb. And yeah, it just works. Country disco, I mean, that's a genre I can fully get behind. So totally recommend this album. It's absolutely superb. It comes with a lyric sheet. There's some great lyrics on here. Shot of the band. Even Karamak likes it. And a his and hers pants inner sleeve. Hers. His. Sorry, mate. And yeah, I love the label takes it to another dimension as well, the 80s stuff. So look at that Atlantic label. How cool is that? But yeah, honestly, check it out. Grief Bacon, this album is good. It really is good. Totally recommend. Check out Situation. I'll give you a quick sample of it now. Okay, number 2 for July, and it's the latest album from Jack White, and this is Frozen Charlotte. Frozen Charlotte is obviously the name of the dolls he used to make in Victorian times where there's no moving parts. They were just all cast in white and just all one piece. And it's one of the lyrics of one of the songs, so he's taken that for the title of the album. And this is basically, it's a follow-on from his last album, No Name. Jack White's made quite a few solo albums now since the end of the White Stripes. And they've always been quite experimental. I think he's tried very hard not to just repeat the White Stripes and, try a few different things out and experiment with his sound a little bit. But the No Name album he brought out, was it last year or the year before? It was just like a return to no-nonsense guitar, and it was really well received. So the band he took out on the road with him got straight back in the studio and they made this one. And this is more of the same, but gloriously so. So this is like a hard and heavy rock album. It's dripping in sort of 70s hard rock. There's lots of I always think there's a lot of elements of Jimmy Page to Jack White's guitar playing, and it really shows on this in terms of he sort of nails that Jimmy Page way of he'll get us like a riff that cycles endlessly through the song and it's just repeated, and it's the song is built around the riff. And there's lots of times on this album where the songs do that. So yeah, it's riff heavy, it's riff based, 70s hard rock, and it's a small band. It's sort of like all it consists of is a drummer, a bassist, Jack on guitar, and an organist. And the sound is just really hard and heavy. It's really addictive. It's not as immediate as No Name. It does take a while for you to listen to get a handle of the songs, so it's not as immediate as No Name. But if you like that sort of squealing and squelching sound that he produces with his pedals, it's just it's shrieking, it's loud, it's heavy, it's lots of mangly type guitar solos. I mean, no one wrangles a guitar like Jack White, but yeah, it's really enjoyable, sort of no frills guitar work basically. Really catchy songs. There's 13 tracks on it. Obviously, some of it that sort of centres on blues riffs, as you would expect. So there's a bit of blues rock in there as well. There's not particularly any ballads on it. It's just same as No Name. It's just hard and heavy, and it just totally goes for it. It's also one of those albums where you just can't help but not you nod your head and get your air guitar out. So it's encouraged me to sort of dust mine off. So hang on a minute. I'll just give you a quick burst. I'm a bit rusty, but check this. Yeah, you never lose it. This used to belong to Marcel Marceau, by the way. I actually went to a listening party in my local record shop for this Jack White album, and I came away with this version. So this is the Frozen Charlatan version. It was randomly sent to record shops who were participating in the listening party, and I was lucky enough to pick one in. The difference is it's got like a silver foil effect to it, and it's part of the marketing campaign. Apparently, if the skull is blue, it's Frozen Charlotte, and if the skull is silver, it's the evil alter ego Frozen Charlatan. So even though this is called Frozen Charlotte, I've got the Frozen Charlatan edition. Yeah, I don't know. Also, there's some nice bits from the listening party. There was there was a poster, and you know what I'm like for promotional stuff. I love all that stuff. There was a set of stamps, and this was pretty cool. It was sort of like a guide to listening to Frozen Charlotte, and done like a airplane safety poster thing. Some of my favourites on here are B, which is support your local independent retailers. Right on. You've got E, which is do not put headphones on an infant; they will not understand. And obviously you've got J, which is do not listen to the new album in a tornado. It's worth mentioning, not everyone knows that. And so that was pretty cool. And the blue, it was a limited blue vinyl, as you would expect. Obviously, Jack White's colour scheme is now blue. And yeah, great album. Really hard and heavy, great rocking album, and a great addition to the Jack White catalogue. So I've been really enjoying that. So yeah, Jack White, Frozen Charlotte, Frozen Charlatan. So album number 3 from July, and just July produced so many, fantastic albums. Third one is a duo who I really enjoyed their last album, and I enjoyed both of their solo works as well, and I think they're a great match together. And like I said, the first album they made together was superb, really enjoyed it. And the second album is just as good. And I'm talking about the combination of Panda Bear from Animal Collective and Pete Kember from Spaceman 3. Sonic Boom, obviously, is better known as, and Spectrum. And this is the second album they've made together. It's called A Question of When, on Domino, and it's absolutely fantastic. As you know, they're both sort of like psychedelic musicians, and they've just come together and made another superb psychedelic album. So basically, you know the story by now. The sort of both sort of psychedelic adventurers in their own right. They've got a great love of 60s pop and Brian Wilson-esque type melodies, especially around the sort of smiley smile era. And yeah, they make like a wall of sound between them, lots of effects, lots of unusual instruments like pedal steel. There's a bit of yodeling, there's a mariachi band on here. And the backbone of this album was that Sonic Boom heard Mary Latimer, the harp player, play at a gig, and she was tuning up, and then he asked her if she wouldn't mind if he recorded her playing as she was warming up. And he made a lot of these harp sounds into loops, and he sent them to Panda Bear and said, we can make some songs of this, and they did. So obviously she's fully credited, and a lot of her harp playing loops form the backbone of these songs. So, but yeah, there's a bit of everything in here. It's like there's like warped steel drum melodies, there's wall of sound sort of textures from Phil Spector inspired. Samples of a harp playing. A lot of the songs are quite. the sort of repetitive and sort of like a hypnotic, lysergic type sound, like all the best psychedelic albums have. And there's sort of like, it's got like a mantra effect going, because a lot of the lyrics are repeated. It's sort of like a really calming, washing psychedelic bubble of sound that sort of, yeah, it's great. It just washes over you. Really melodic, really tuneful songs. There's sort of like a marching beat and flute refrain in the title track. There's like a lullaby type song, which is like country inflected, called Pray to You. And it's like a gentle pulse and harp of Never Giving In, which is a really positive, upbeat song. So yeah, they both deliver the goods on this, and it's a really cool modern psychedelic record. So if that's your thing, then you'll absolutely love this album. It's I think it's actually better than Reset, to be honest. It's really good. It's a really great meeting of minds. The arrangements are great. There's a lot of thought got into the production. The vocals are great. It's just a really cool sort of drifting psychedelic album with lots of 60s touches to it. So yeah, absolutely loving this at the moment. And yeah, it comes on a sort of like an embossed sleeve, which is nice. It comes on a neon pink vinyl, which is hurts your eyes a bit. Lyrics and stuff, and again there was a few promotional things with this, so you get sort of like a fanzine that came with it, with them talking about the album, and again, like the Sturgill Simpson album, the sort of like, it's they didn't release it on streaming either or on any platforms, so they were trying to encourage you. There's a slogan on here somewhere, yeah, IRL, not URL. So in real life, not online. So nothing online, no videos, no streaming as far as I'm aware. They just encourage you to go out and get physical copies of the album and really connect with it and come and see them live. The couple of cool stickers that came with it. A question of when. And I'm unfollowing Panda Bear and Sonic Boom, which I thought was quite cool. And also, there's a track on the album called Lucky Charm, and I got this Lucky Charm with the album, and if you can see it, on one side, it's got like a hand with an eye in it with Panda Bear and Sonic Boom on, and on the other side, a lucky kitten or something on a 4-leaf clover. So yeah, that was pretty cool. But the album's pretty cool. Really recommend it. If you love psychedelia, if you love Panda Bear, and you love the work of Sonic Boom and his productions, then you're going to love this. A Question of When. So next up, we have the 7th album by a band I've followed more or less since they started. And it's one of those bands where the first album made such an impact at the time, and it hit the zeitgeist, and it sort of was laid the template for that time, and lots of catchy songs, and it's sort of become an albatross around the neck ever since. And all the fans have wanted them just to endlessly remake the first album, which to the credit they haven't. But I think they're great, and it's the Strokes, obviously, and this is their latest, Reality Awaits. And like I say, they're the band that's forever cursed with Is This It? And people just want them to endlessly remake it. And it's one of those, you feel sorry for these bands in a way, because they can't win, because if they did make carbon copies of the most successful album, they'd get slaughtered for that as well. So they can't really win. It's a bit like DJ Shadow and Introducing. It's sort of like the first impact they made was so seismic, it's become a bit of a albatross around the neck. So but yeah, I've really enjoyed the Strokes albums, and I've really liked listening to the Strokes. And what I mean by that is, I think they're one of those unique bands where they're just really enjoyable to listen to. It's like every band member has a personality. The playing's really good. I love the interplay between, the drummer and the bassist, and the way the two guitarists interlock, and Julian's vocals sitting on top. I just think they're a great band to listen to. They just work together so well. And yeah, this was an album that it was again produced by Rick Rubin, the second one. The last album was The New Abnormal, which I think, if I remember rightly, came out around COVID. So this has proved to be a bit of a controversial All right, not that controversial. So this has proved to be a controversial album, really, because it's been it's taken a long time to make. I mean, the reports of them making this album about 2 or 3 years ago, and obviously, I don't know if it's run into problems or the band members have fallen out, because the Strokes seem to be one of those bands where they don't particularly like each other very much, and I think several attempts were made to record it, and then they got together, I think at the start of this year, and made a real push to get it finished, and then it was delayed because of the mixing or something. But people were thinking, is it because the album wasn't really working? And yeah, and also there's that element of it where it was sort of hyped up to be the most experimental Strokes album because of its heavy use of auto tune in Julian Casablancas' vocals. Now, I'll be totally honest with you. I hate auto tune. I've always hated it, and I think it's awful. It doesn't sound futuristic. It doesn't sound good. It just sounds naff. And it's ironic that Cher had a song called "If I Could Turn Back Time," because if I could turn back time, I'd go back and shoot Cher before she sort of made believe and made it all like popular. It's not easy to say that, is it? Shoot Cher, shoot Cher. Yeah, so this was sort of like the heavy selling point of this album, that it was absolutely drenched in auto tune. It was really experimental, and is it? I would say no, it's not really. It's not really what I would call an experimental album, and I think a lot of the criticism was because the first track, it sort of sets the tone for the album in a way. It's quite a controversial track to have as its first track, and it's because it sort of starts off really gentle and it builds over 5 minutes into like a cacophonous noise. And the auto tune on Julian's vocals starts off really minimum, and as the track builds towards the end, it just gets more and more batshit crazy, to be honest. And yeah, there's no choruses in it either, so it's quite like a droning monologue in a way. So if you're the dyed in the wool, is this it Strokes fan? It probably was quite a shock. But to be fair, after that, every track does feature auto tune on Julian's vocals, but some of it works actually quite well, to be fair, and some of it's minimal, and some of it does add to the songs. But as a whole, it's probably not what your dyed in the wool indie Strokes fan wants to hear, to be fair. But I'll be honest with you, this wasn't the album I thought it was going to be. I think it was hyped by the critics in terms of it being really experimental. It isn't really. It's the Strokes you know and love, but with a few batshit vocals here and there and use of auto tune. I've really enjoyed this album. It's one of those albums that grows on you, and I found the same for the new Abnormal. It didn't grab me straight away. It sort of grew on me, and yeah, I think Julian's songs do sometimes these days anyway take a while to sort of pull you in and hook you in. But there's plenty of stuff on here for traditional Strokes fans to like. Dine and Dash is a great song on here. It's got like a great synth line and arpeggiated guitar riff, which the Strokes are like famous for. And Fab Morietti's drumming throughout their album is superb. It's really high up in the mix. There's loads of sort of different rhythms he uses, and it's great drumming all the way through. And Dine and Dash makes me laugh because halfway through, Julian Casablancas sort of shouts in a non-ironic fashion, "It's going great." So I'm not sure if that's the reference to the album sessions and the difficult birth of this album, or whether it's just got nothing to do with it. But it always makes me smile when I hear that line, as if to say it's going great when it probably really wasn't. And Lonely in the Future, that's another sort of strange song as well. It's like a Strokes diss track in a way, in terms of the lyrically, Julian Casablancas seems to be having a real pop at other artists who he feels have nicked the Strokes sound or their beats or their arrangements. I think he mentions Josh Groban, and there's somebody else he mentions as well. And the sort of the hook of the song is "It's lonely in the future," as in I'm so great, I'm sat here in the future, and you lot are struggling to catch up with me. And it's quite an arrogant song. And it's also got a lot of flack because he sort of mentions Anthony Fantano, the YouTube's busiest music nerd critic, and it slags him off, basically saying that he knows his technical stuff, but he wouldn't know art if it smacked him around the chops. And I think that's probably a bit of a mistake, really. lyrically referencing people on your tracks, because you just get flack for it. And obviously Anthony Fantano's made a lot of mileage out of it as well, because it's great for his channel and it's great for clicks and things like that. But yeah, it's a strange song. It's a good song, but it's a strange sort of outright, having a go at your critics type song. I'm never sure if they're particularly a good idea. So that makes the album a bit odd as well. Even that halfway through the song again, he says, "We all steal, it's all good, baby." So he wants to make his mind up, really. Falling Out of Love is another great track, sort of very melancholy and aching guitar lines on it. Going Shopping was a single that's quite catchy. So there's elements of the old Strokes, and there's a little bit of experimentation there as well. The songs do take a bit of getting used to, and they do grow on you with time. I'm really enjoying this, to be honest. I'm not saying it's a classic Strokes album, because it isn't, but it's not a bad album either. It's just the auto-tune can get a bit much at times, and if you're not a fan of auto-tune, then it's not really going to do much for you, to be honest. But to be fair, I hate auto-tune, and I'm quite enjoying this. So yeah, it's quite an expensive album as well. It's a single album, but to be fair, it's quite well packaged, so it's got that going for it. So it's got like a triple fold-out sleeve, shots of the band there in Costa Rica, where they recorded the album. There's Rick Rubin. I can never make my mind up where I think Rick Rubin's a great producer or not, to be honest. But yeah, that's is it a Ferrari or a Lamborghini or something? I don't know anything about cars, but I don't know why they put that on there. But yeah, triple fold out sleeve. It's got a great lyric booklet with it, sort of like a fold out poster, again with band shots from Costa Rica. And it's done like a postcard. So I'm not saying you could send that, but Royal Mail might have a bit of a problem with that. But it's really well packaged, and it comes on this sort of I can't remember what they call it now. Is it like black ice vinyl, which is basically black vinyl with glitter in it. I'm not sure if you can you see that on there? Maybe. So yeah. Not one for Strokes fans who want another Is This It? But if you've liked the Strokes albums going along, as I have, and you can sort of tolerate auto-tune, which I can't, but yeah, I like this. I would recommend it, but yeah, perhaps it's a try before you buy. Not a classic, but yeah, still enjoyable. Strokes Reality Awaits. Okay, the next of July's Bounty was another band that I do really enjoy, and this is the third album from the Leeds-based band Yard Act, and this is You're Gonna Need a Little Music. I don't know if you're aware, but Yard Act was sort of like, I suppose you could call them post-punk. They were sort of like a mixture of sort of angular guitars and sort of danceable rhythms, and James Smith, the vocalist, sort of diatribes about the modern era and things that are going wrong in society. Really great lyricist. He sort of like his delivery was quite spoken word at first, but as time gone on, he's gone to he's singing a lot on this album as well. So it's not just spoken word with a backing. First album was really enjoyable. Second album, it went a bit inward. It was a good album, but a lot of it was based on James Smith's sort of insecurities and being honest about being in a band and trying to make it work and being a father and things like that. So this time, it's a little more direct. It's sort of, I think James Smith was saying he didn't want to make songs anymore that were, that were self-explanatory. He wanted to be a bit deeper. So this one is a bit more, well, it's certainly a lot grittier. So instead of sort of like the danceable pop punk sort of post punk sort of, I mean the post punk's here, but it's a bit more. This is a lot more gritty. It's a lot harder edged. It's a lot more guitar based. The guitarist Sam Shipston is a great guitarist, and he's really on form on this one. His guitars and his riffs are really at the front of the mix, and it's a lot heavier and grittier than their past albums. And there's not as much sort of soul searching in this one. There's a couple of tracks where James Smith goes back to his monologues about his insecurities and about the worry about having made it. Can he keep that going? Can he keep the band going? All these responsibilities, but it's confined to a couple of tracks. The other tracks are a bit more sort of oblique in in the lyrical form. It's not as direct, it's not as personal, but it's a great album. I've really been enjoying this, and it reminds me when I listen to it. It reminds me of the band Magazine. It's got, in fact, the first track really sounds like a Magazine track, and it even mentions Howard Devoto in the lyrics, but. Yeah, it's got loads of sort of like Magazine influences, the angular guitars, the sort of jerky stop-start rhythms, and it's just, yeah, really enjoyable. It starts off with a mix of that. It's sort of like a piano riff and an angular sort of post-punk riff. And it's just, yeah, it's just sort of like the Downside of Fame. That's the opening track, Empty Pledges, sorry. And yeah, a lot heavier, this album, a lot heavier, a lot more guitar driven sound. And also it's got like quite an indie feel to it. Some of the tracks sound like early Blur songs in a way. You've got that mixture of sort of like an arty angular sound and sort of catchy choruses and lyrics and things like that. So it's a lot of like Britpop, I think, influences in this. There's the repetitive piano riff and spoken word story of you're going to need a little music. Like I say, on this album, James Smith alternates between spoken word and sung vocals, so there's quite a mix there. And it's just really sort of catchy and spiky. There's a great track called Cherophobe Rock, which is sort of like, again, like an angular post-punk Magazine type, really urgent, really catchy, really short. That's a great track. Thrill of the Chase as well is a great song. It's sort of like got a really like strong hip hop type beat to it, and James Smith even just, it speeds up, it goes along, and by the time you get to the bridge, James Smith is like starting rapping almost. It's like a really fast rap, but it really works. It works really well. So there's like a bit of a hip hop influence there as well. There's the monologue of soul searching song Janie Said, which is apparently Janie is what James Smith calls his alter ego. So there's a bit of a soul searching element from the last album there. But like I say, on the whole, it's really catchy, really gritty, really guitar driven, sort of really bouncy and spiky, and it's great. It's like a great. It's an album that makes you move. And it's an album that's quite, you know, it's very heavy, a lot heavier than they've done before. So yeah, I've been really enjoying that. And it comes with an insert shot of the band, and James Smith does love his words. So look how many words are there. But you know, it does work, it does fit. But he's a great lyricist, and he's got a great turn of phrase, and he's got a great way of looking at life and soul searching and things like that. But yeah, and the vinyl comes on this sort of gold smoky type colour, which is really cool. But yeah, third album, yeah, I think it's one of their better ones, to be honest with you. Really enjoying it, and like I say, if you like spiky indie music with a bit of teeth, and you like wordy songs, and you know they are quite a unique group, and I've always really enjoyed Yard Act, but I think they get better with every album. This is a really good album, so yeah, recommend this one. Yard Act, you're gonna need a little music. Okay, so the last album I'm going to talk about for July is one that I've got to talk about, because basically if you don't talk about it, your vinyl community membership's revoked instantly. You've got to talk about it. And basically it's the viral sensation of the year, and everyone's talking about them. But this is obviously Engine de Poitrine. This is volume 2. It came out this year, so it does count as a new release. Obviously volume 1 was issued as well. I'm not going to talk about him in great detail because I'm sure you've heard the story loads of times. And if you haven't, Bruno Records did an absolutely fantastic video on them, which I'll link to below. And it's basically everything you wanted to know about Engine de Poitrine, but were afraid to ask. So it's a great video. So, and it goes into such detail. It's really worth watching. So I'll let him tell the story. But basically, they're a Quebec duo. They play microtonal music, which is, I'm not a musician, but it's like the notes between the notes, and it's nothing new. It's been used for centuries, and King Gizzard did a couple of microtonal albums as well. So you'll probably recognise the sound to my ears, and I mean, now everyone has different reference points, but it's sort of like the jerky punk funk of ESG combined with the guitar noodling and progressive elements of King Crimson and Robert Fripp. So to me, that's what they sound like, basically. The look came about basically because they were booked on a bill, I think, and they had to pretend to be two separate bands so they could get paid twice. And the costumes and the makeup and the paper mache heads and noses took off, so they continued with it. But they're great. I loved them. Obviously, I first became aware of them at the start of this year when their sort of set for KEXP in Seattle was broadcast on YouTube, and I think, you know, they just blew me away. I loved the whole setup. I loved the fact that they pretended to be aliens. I loved the complex music. I loved the fact that, you know, that a band would perform such complicated music. I mean, you know, the guitarist especially, he sort of plays a bass and the guitar. They use loop pedals, so basically can create loops so he can play over his bass lines or play over his guitar with bass. And you just think to yourself, why would you want to make such complicated music even harder than that? I mean, the rhythms they play are amazing, but no, let's put on huge paper mache heads with appendages that, you know, horses would be ashamed of. You know what I mean? It's sort of like the fact that you know, it make microtonal music even harder to play by having these huge get-ups and talking like aliens and things like that. I was blown away. You know, I absolutely loved it, and it's taken nearly 6 months to get this album into the UK. Obviously, you know, you could pay on Bandcamp in the early days for a Quebec pressing, but the shipping costs and all that sort of stuff were just outrageous. So I just thought the way they've taken off, it's only a matter of time before they get a European distribution, and it's taken about 6 months, but at least it's here. So it's like a 6-track EP, but it's more or less album length, and it's just, if you like sort of jerky rhythms, progressive elements, a bit of psychedelia, strange sort of melodies, they're just great. And a lot of people say they're probably better experience live than on record, and there is an element of that. I think watching them play, especially when you realise what they're doing to create that sound, it's just fascinating to watch, especially Kin, this guy who plays the guitar and the bass, the way he loops his pedals and, you know, he creates those rhythms. It's just astonishing in the way he plays. But that's taken away nothing from Kleck, who's on drums, who, you know, does some amazing sort of polyrhythmic drumming. And yeah, they're just fantastic. And the sounds they create while wearing this ridiculous get up is just astonishing. So I'm really enjoying this. I know they're a bit of a Marmite band, you either love them or hate them, and you know they are probably better witnessed live. And also you think, how long can they span this out? I mean, you get the impression that the third album, if they make one, he's going to have to incorporate a few new elements. Otherwise, I think people are going to get tired of this sound quite quickly. But at the moment, I'm absolutely loving this one and the first one. I know a lot of people are put off by Kin's feet, by the fact he plays barefoot. Feet get a bad rep, really, don't they? I mean, I always quite like feet.
Feet to put your socks on.
Oh, yeah.
And stop your legs from frying at the end.
Some people get put off by him a lot, don't they? So, yeah, so I suppose it depends how you feel about somebody playing a pedal board with bare feet as well. But they are aliens, to be fair, so, you know, you've got to give them that credit. But, yeah, loving this. Standard black vinyl. God knows what pressing this is. They are numbered on the back in terms of what number press. There must have been like the 25th pressing or something by now. And there's some great shots of the aliens there, getting up to their alien activities. But yeah, I think they're cool. I'm really enjoying this at the moment. And I translated some of the insert credits and stuff like that. And my attention was drawn to this statement here, which I wholeheartedly agree with, and basically it translates as glory to the enthusiastic consumers of unusual music. Hear, hear, aliens, Quebecan aliens, hear, hear. Engine de Poitrine Volume 2 rounds off July's new releases, and what a month it's been. So plenty for you to check out there, and I hope you do, and I hope you enjoy them, and I'll see you for the August roundup. All the best. Thanks for watching.